time this morning. Anyway, I've been working in Maya and Nuke for the past 2 years, and then Jason and I got in an argument about what could be done in RenderMan and what could be done in Flame, and he felt like he could reproduce it. And then he said, hey, next user group meeting, you should just show all the new 3D stuff because we have the physically based shader node, and it solves all our problems.
Not all of them.
Yeah, that's what he said. I don't know if anyone...
I don't know if I said all.
Some of us might remember a Flame user group meeting a long time ago where they showed Mental Ray in action. The white whale. It really is. That was all anyone talked about. They've got a new renderer in action. It never came about. But 2017 does... there is a significant change in action. So maybe this is the first step towards that. They bought the Stingray software, and, we see more of the, like if you use Maya and you use Viewport 2.0, it does things that are frankly amazing in real time. And you're like, why can't I have that in my Flame viewport? We're starting to see that. It's coming. But I still think there's some building blocks there, but it's taking its time. So anyway, I thought that coming from Maya, again, that's where I'm coming from, the thing that I thought really that as Flame users we all need to look out for is this new live preview 3D button. And what does it really mean? That 3D view is what we're always used to. The whole viewer, the whole environment is wide open.
Seeing things outside the raster.
Yeah, seeing things outside the raster, doing, just like we've always been used to. And if you just had somebody holding down that preview button, that's what live preview would be. It's just holding that down, except we have icons there. But if we, crank on some motion blur, let's say, and kick that up and turn off. Why are we not seeing motion blur? Samples of anti-aliasing, and it's in the preview. It's there all the time. If I try to, drag my scene, it's not coming because that's a lot of, and there's some motion blur. Yay! So that's there all the time. It's in that. It's there. We're not hitting preview. We're not having to see it. Great. It's fantastic, but obviously it brings up some issues working in a large batch tree with 3D stuff. And it took a lot of getting used to seeing what's going to show up and what isn't. So that brings up adaptive degradation and how critical it really is. And I had never used it until this morning. And the second I saw it, I was like, oh, I want that. I need that. The way they've changed it in 2017 over 16 seems to be pretty nice. So just as an example here, had a little scene with just some 3D elements in it, and then and we'll talk about what's in that. But as an adaptive degradation example, I have a very busy scene with lots of blooming and depth of field and all sorts of good stuff and reflections, and it's going, it's interactive, but it's kind of slow. But down the chain,
what's your samples at on that one?
That is, that's at 32.
32.
Okay.
So it's pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. So anyway, what I might want to do here, this is just simple, just turn on that adaptive degradation. So when I look at it, the things that I choose down here are disabled until I, like old school, hit the preview button and I get to see them all again. And you can choose which ones you want on or off. And there's a hotkey to turn that off, and you can have all of your actions in your chain synchronized that same nice way. But that's handy. What's nicer, though, is down here in your batch preferences, you can choose, these two are the real money choices to me, the propagate on time scrub and just turn it off altogether. That means that degradation is running all the way through the tree. So when I'm down here in my color corrector, all the fancy stuff that I have in the render is gone until I preview render. So anyway, yeah, Alt-D, once you're in the mode, pops you, maybe not. Alt-D, Hello? Yeah, so that pops that degradation on or off. You get a handy little notifier there that it's, I don't know how you miss it. Like, oh, everything's wrong, but here's a yellow icon.
Remember the flashing auto key?
Anyway, so yeah, so then another thing that I discovered that is interesting. Let's talk about the Stingray camera effects.
There's some nice balls, dude.
Okay, so a little scene here, and just a quick example. So I want some reflection on that. So here's my camera. We'll come here to our node bin, and in our matchbox here, these are our new Stingray camera shaders, if you will. They're camera effects. They're not something you apply as a shader per object, which can be nice, or in this little example, it's kind of a pain because most pool tables don't reflect, but we want the balls to reflect. And there isn't a handy way to just unlink that particular shader, but there is
way of advertising. It doesn't have to make sense. They just want it.
Yes, but it's actually not so bad.
It's true.
Exactly.
It's not perfect.
We
love it.
there's an option here for kind of like a selective cube, if you will, and all of these camera shaders have this selective viewing mode where you see the effect of the channels being applied to your render. And for instance, like this cube here, I move it in X and Y, position it where I want, and and can grow it to the size of my scene. And it can be attached to the camera, or it can be attached to the world. So let's say if we apply it to the world and start moving it up in Y, now I can control exactly what, I know I want the balls to be reflective, but not the floor. So I just select them and then come back, and it should be there. But we've got other ways to do it too. We can do a normals pass here and choose that. Let's turn off selective viewing. So as I point the normals away, I can control that, but that's not really doing it, because that's why I chose the cube.
Now it's affecting it.
Yeah, it looks like it did. But
Did it do it?
crank it up.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, I lost it on the balls.
Yeah. I think it's something a little funny.
Okay, well, it's part of learning it. Anyway, you'll see that I do have very nice reflection on the balls themselves. That's live, real time, fast, very nice, moves with the camera, as you would expect. And then controlling, like in days past when we had a nice little material here for our object, I have just a simple little diffuse map on it. We would control the shininess of that with that wonderful kind of 0, 1 shining. So anyway, what do we do about that? That is where the wonderful shader comes in. Pop that guy not on the material, but on the geometry. That will take you an hour to remember. But notice that the one ball there does not look the same as it used to. And we have all these different choices, default being the original shader model, the one we've all used before. Shading off, pretty handy for things that you don't want to take the light. And then different ways to control the specular on that object. And each one has a fun history on Wikipedia, if you're interested in, and somebody's name behind it. But basically what they're doing is they're giving me control over that specular highlight where it is. You shouldn't be seeing the reflection, but unfortunately you are. And by controlling, like here, this is the new one, the physically based. The specular and roughness allow me to kind of control these guys in a more accurate way. And that's what everybody's talking about in the rendering world. Arnold and RenderMan and V-Ray all have these physically based accurate shaders. This is a very rudimentary start towards that direction. But it does allow you to get some kind of cooler highlights and stuff off of the
I
object.
think you have some ambient color in your material too.
I might. No.
It's white. It should be black. Your ambient should be black.
New color
It's like
picker?
self-inflated.
Yeah, new color picker, loving it. Anyway, the other thing I was going to tell you, the one that's really keen. What the fuck is going on with these hotkeys, man?
They're flying.
Yeah, no, I practiced that. Anyway, this one's the one that I think is kind of killer too, because it lets you control kind of apply two different colors to that highlight. So it's easier to kind of make a gradient and have it fall off on the edges and stuff like that, which is handy when working in 3D. Anyway, yeah, you pile that all up. So here with maps and stuff, you get it all together. And simply here, using, each one of these balls has a material, a diffuse map. They're all sharing a reflection map, which is just an HDRI, using a reflection map on the background and blurring it to kind of add some light to it. I bet this one has no reflection. Thank you. Anyway, again, notice also we're not seeing anything outside of the raster. We're in that live preview mode. So going back into the 3D mode, kind of like your wireframe mode or your quick shade, moving around very nice and quick. Going back to live preview, it's a little heavier, but not bad. Anyway, and so in this scene also I added some more of the Stingray effects here. So we threw in some depth of field, the ambient occlusion, and the reflections. The ambient occlusion is very nice. You'll see we're just getting a little hint of the shadow where things are coming together. It's about 1 billion times better than the old way in 2016. It works. It looks like it's going to render. It's fast. It's very quick. And the controls, you can really crank it up there, and then you can tighten it up right in where you want. I'll show you that on another thing. And then you can really get some quality in there. And it's still really peppy. Anyway, so that's just a quick example of that. And then the depth of field here on these guys, just a note about that. This viewer window is really key. Again, you're in action, you're doing it, you're not having to go out to a different node or anything like that. You're seeing it. And you have control over the fall off and the range. So as you're opening that up, and there doesn't appear to be a hotkey for that. So you're going to hit F4 about 1,000 times, wondering why it doesn't go away. But anyway, it is a very pretty quick depth of field that beats having to set up passes or anything like that.
Yeah, this is like real time.
And it's real, yes.
As he rotates in the view, we see that.
Okay, so then, so putting it all together to wrap up. Quick scene here. Oh, and I wanted to say for those interested in bringing 3D into a scene or working with your Maya artist or Cinema 4D artist, before they send you models, for example, just one of my Maya models that I wanted to use for this, if you grab an action and here, let's grab that import node. And anyway, yeah, so here's a model from Maya. I thought I had it very simple in Maya. Like it was really simple. And that's what simple in Maya turns into in Flame. And it's a huge pain, and it's difficult to work with. And you spend a lot of time in this mode finding things and deleting big things and stuff like that. So always ask your 3D artist before he sends it over. Really clean up, minimize, combine, do the best you can to, get things in as small a chunks as possible, because there are not the tools in action to deal with complex. You can deal with the big ass model. You can't deal with the metadata, the structure underneath it. That's where the UI leaves you short a little bit. So anyway, that's worth, and you'll see once I got that all cleaned up, the model becomes very friendly to work with. Also, have your texture artist or your Maya guy really work on come back here, getting the texture maps. Combine them. And that's what 3D people are doing now anyway. You're not talking about tons of different texture maps. They're getting them onto one nice high-res texture. And if they do, so like here for my little the complete shot, if you will. With my textures, I kind of built what one would consider a shading network. Like in Maya, Cinema 4D now, we're all building these monster shader networks. And could Flame do it better? Or, there are some nice things here working in Flame I wish I could do in Maya. You have this full compositor, just for like little decal work here. So like adding... like little text to the, to the model, or adding decals. I ended up with a whole action with all of my different, things I wanted to add. So let's say like I want to reposition some of these decals on the shader. Doing the split view, come over here. Let's grab the final scene. So so here's a good example too. I have all of that. I have all that motion blur and depth of field and stuff on that guy. So in this action, I'm going to turn, that's a good place to have this on so I can see what I'm working on. So let's look at that context view there and come back to my decal. Okay. And now as I'm repositioning, if I'm grabbing these guys and moving them around. Where is he? Should be. It's this guy. Yeah, there it is. So as I'm moving, I'm seeing it, update in my in context down the line. So it's easy to come in and work on my decals and stuff like that. That in Maya would be. You'd be jumping back and forth between Mudbox or Photoshop all day working on that. And it's fast. I mean, it can be done, but just, once the layer gets really heavy, seeing it in context like that is actually kind of nice. And, super, so, yeah. So we've got a huge setup here, with my plane, all the shaders, reflection maps, shaders, all piled up on top, all right here. So there's that plane totally shaded. And then I needed 20 more of them. So boom, 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 off we go. And then, changing out the decals, or, if I need different, if I want a different set of look to it with more color, I have it, boom, just pop it in. And then there it is. And then again, working down the line, turn that adaptive degradation on. So, and then in batch preferences, the same thing, propagate on scrub. So I'm down here working on, trying to decide on the vignette for the shot, and I can scrub through it. It's not working.
Still not bad. I didn't think that was bad.
It's not bad, yeah, but it should be super fast. Gotta turn it on. Okay, so now we're back here. So yeah, I've stopped and I see the render.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think it's
seems fast to me.
no,
Yeah.
it's not. It's not. Anyway, that's
Yes,
that's,
it is.
No, it's not.
Try that on my computer.
See, look, it turned itself off.
It's not hot.
I practiced.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's see if it turns itself off. So in this model, the thing that came in really handy was that car shader, again, for like the windows and stuff like that. The IBL lights are fantastic for stuff like this. So like all of my models have the IBL of the scene they're in, very quick. So you get that nice, choosing, I just kind of went through and found that the shiny bit that I wanted. And then like for the tail section, for the exhaust, all you have to do is find that you know, that piece of geometry, I knew I wanted that separate. Broke it from my main shader, added a different one so I could come in and control. You know, it has a little different shade, you know, something like that. Car paint actually worked well for that, so I could add a little color to it as well. And it worked well with the glass as well. So I used car paint there to you know, kind of have it fall off. So all those shaders and everything, the one thing it still kind of sucks at is glass, clear stuff, refraction, things like that. But you can get some nice
refraction is challenging.
Oh yeah,
because when you're doing transparency in flame, you got to remember it's layer-based transparency. If you're trying to do it on geometry, geometry becomes a layer, so it's basically making everything transparent, not the material itself. And that's a battle. I think we'll see some stuff happen soon about that. But.
And so for the camera in this scene, have the ambient occlusion turned on for all of them. So it's on for all models, unless I wanted to go through and selectively like cube them out or normal them out or something like that. But you can see that it definitely has an effect down in the, you know, in the little pockets of the model.
Does everybody know what AO is? It's the nook and cranny shadows. That's a good way to think about it. It just kind of helps sell the realism.
The reflection, I'm picking up reflections of the other planes in the scene from that. Which also I think just kind of help, you know, anything you can add to your model to kind of make it not look quite so 3D. And then the motion blur, very quick and nice. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Now it thinks it's fog or something.
Oh yeah, that's a bug.
Okay. Good. Looks like motion blur. But yeah, it's, you know, you can dial that in and get some. Now that is not the rendering motion blur. That is the camera motion blur. It is light years faster, but it does have limitations. It doesn't seem to get much. You don't get that big sweeping.
Sometimes it calls itself fog.
Yeah, and it calls itself fog. But yeah, so like these planes are really cooking, right? And you'll see in my motion blur, I've got it at max. And the motion blur, you know, it's there, but it's not really having much of an effect. And then if I turn that guy off and go to my node preps, and we'll wait. So that's what I get out of Flames. For some reason, it hates these models. So that's the motion blur there, and it's completely unresponsive. You know, so decide which one you're going to use first, because once you get started with one, going back to the other one is kind of a drag. Anyway, so yeah, try the shaders out when you don't like shading or shining things between 0 and 1, because they do work, and I found it only took a couple of minutes of experimentation to get the specular highlight that I wanted. Layer those maps up, diffuse, reflection, spec, just layer them onto objects, and it works great. And these camera things are fast and totally worth using. Yeah, they will really save you a lot of time. But as you pile them up, depending on your hardware, you're going to become good friends with adaptive degradation. Okay.
Sweet.